So welcome to Catch-Ups Out of My Kitchen.
I'm sure everyone here will agree, nutrition at its core is crazy simple. That doesn't mean it's easy.
You can have a bad vegan diet just as easily as you can have a bad meat-based diet, right?
As people are not drinking now, myself, I'm sober.
This is Catch-Ups in My Kitchen, the catch-up you need every week in order to look, feel and be the best version of yourself. Join me in my kitchen every week as I speak to a new guest about all things food, health and wellness. Whether it's a specialist in their field, an inspiring story, or just a big girly catch-up full of all the recommendations, tips and advice. In my kitchen, we talk about it all. So welcome to Catch-Ups Out of My Kitchen. So a bit about the podcast. I have been doing the podcast now for 3.5 years. It started just as a little bit of fun and it's now turned into a bit more than that. And basically I talk to amazing founders, people in the food, nutrition space, ultimately to give us advice on how to build the best version of ourselves. So to celebrate the launch of the functional nutrition bar at KARVE, I thought I'd get some amazing founders here today to talk about their brands, their products. And I think a lot of them, what these three brands have in common is like they focus on natural, which I think is what we're all like really aware of now. I think obviously the health space is booming and we're all looking to feel our best, but it's not until we turn over the packet and read things that we're like, oh wow, like this actually isn't that healthy, or like what's in these products. And I think all of you guys really are aware of that when you're like formulating your products. So we're going to go into that in more detail. I'm also now the founder of a wellness brand called Healthy Habits. So there are a few samples going around, but my first product is mouth tape. So it's kind of like a functional wellness brand taking kind of boring products and making them more aesthetic. So mouth tape has been the first product. So if you want to try it, come and let me know. And if you haven't got a sample, I'll give you one. So to start things off, rather than me blabbering on about how amazing your brands are, do you guys all mind giving a quick intro into who you are and the brand that you have founded?
Absolutely.
Okay, hi, I'm Lisa Jeffries and I'm the founder of JAGA Drinks. We are a nootropic and adaptogenic wellness drink brand. We are stocked here in the UK and have recently launched in America. It's just me and my husband that run it, and yeah, our drinks are kind of based around boosting your mood, your mental well-being, focus, brain function. So yeah, just a general overall well-being soda and shot.
Amazing, love it. And you use nootropics
Yes.
in that, which we'll touch on in more detail.
Yes.
And like the power of nootropics is amazing. And I think this is why I love the kind of functional part of this cafe, is that like we are really playing on things that have been around for a while, like nootropics, but we're now all learning about the benefits of them, which we'll touch on in more detail. But Rhian, over to you.
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Rhian Stephenson. I'm a naturopath, nutritionist, and founder of ARTAH Health. We make science-backed supplements for lasting transformation. So I was in clinical practice for about 10 years and saw that there was a real gap in the supplement market for really efficacious and practitioner-led brands. So I started one myself. We specialize in metabolic health, primarily for women, but we kind of don't say it's only for women. And we launched in about 2021 as well. So yeah, 3.5, 4 years in now.
Amazing. And Matt, over to you.
Hey guys, I'm Matt from Rome. We make all natural high protein bars using grass-fed beef, pasture-raised turkey and pork. And really all we're about is taking protein back to basics. Reason why I started the brand was kind of products for myself, because I love my training, I love an active lifestyle, very busy outside of the gym as well, as we all are, you know, with family and work. And just one thing that I certainly always struggled with, and I saw a lot of other people struggling with, was trying to be consistent with their protein intake. And also a lot of people often underestimate the power and the importance of being consistent with their protein intake. It's not all about muscles, it's about health, and you need protein for every single system or process that happens in the body. Quite often when we can't get protein through food, people always lean into the more synthetic stuff, like the ready to drink shakes, the better for you chocolate bars, the cookies and the flapjacks. And we just wanted to create a really natural, savory tasting product that had more protein per calorie than any other bar on the market, and that's Rome.
I love it. I have so many questions. I think there's a massive rise in the kind of meat first approach at the moment, like the ancestral diet, the carnivore diet. We're going to get into that as well.
Nice.
But Lisa, I'd like to start with you, and I mentioned nootropics, but I'd like to touch on that in more detail and why you decided to add nootropics to JAGA. I think it's super interesting. I love adding nootropics to my coffees and stuff. The power of them is amazing. The way you feel on them is amazing. So why was that an important ingredient for you?
Yeah, so myself as well, when I had a cafe and I used to experiment back in like 2021 with nootropic blends in coffees and hot chocolates. And back then, really where we live in Leicestershire, there wasn't anything else like that. My husband's got a drinks manufacturer, and I was using a lot of these ingredients myself, and I realised how powerful they were. So we decided to make a drink, because at the time there wasn't really anything around like that in a kind of easy to drink formula. So yeah, and because they work, people have alcohol because it does something, but it's got all the negative side effects. And with nootropics, they work, but you don't get the nasty side effects. And as people are not drinking now, myself, I'm sober, it was kind of a great thing to put into a drink so that you're getting some good functions, but without all the nasty side effects.
Completely. I mean, the no alcohol and no drinking thing I'll also touch on a bit later. But personally, if I have been drinking and I want coffee the next day, I'll always add ashwagandha to my coffee. Definitely. Because it just takes off that jitteriness.
100%.
But if you guys haven't tried any like nootropics within your diet or adding them to drinks, the power of them is amazing. So I think it's really cool that they're in JAGA. Rhian,
Yes.
I'd love to touch on your newest product. I mean, I could talk about creatine for a while now, because personally, I've noticed a huge difference. But why have you launched creatine, and why is it important for women to consume creatine? Because it has got a bit of a bad rep for being the bulky supplement, the one
for gym bros.
For gym bros.
Yeah.
But actually it's for everyone. So can we touch on that?
Yeah, of course. So we launched Essential Creatine last month. It's quickly shot up to one of our best sellers. And I think it's because the research on it now is so compelling, right? So it used to only really be associated with athletic performance, and therefore kind of using it for athletes, using it in the gym, using it if you wanted to build muscle, which it does do in combination with exercise. But what we also know now is that it has incredible cognitive benefits, especially for women through certain life stages, perimenopause and menopause specifically. So I think because now there's a wealth of research that talks about its outcomes for cognitive health, for longevity, it's just become a lot more widely accepted as not just a supplement for the gym.
I love it. I mean, personally, I was vegan for a while, and now I'm adding in more and more kind of animal-based products. And for me, I still don't consume meat or fish on a regular basis. So creatine was something that I wanted to try, but I was really scared. And creatine can come in lots of different forms, which we've touched on. And my entry point was gummies, and I actually hate gummies. And so I was like, this is not really working for me. I thought it was the gummy. I thought it was the creatine, but actually it was a gummy. And Rhian came on, catch us in my kitchen, and we had a massive discussion about the power of creatine. And she was like, just try ours. And I have been, and I'm like, I am hooked. The way you feel on it is insane.
Well, I think specifically for you as well. So for those of you who don't know, it's a compound that we make, but it's also only found in meat and fish, right? So you can only get it through eating animal-based products. So those of us who don't eat as much meat or don't eat any meat usually will feel a relatively kind of much higher kind of benefit right away from taking it. We can synthesize it on our own, so we do make it, but consumption of it is one of the major ways that we replace it. So especially for girls on a vegan kind of diet, women, we tend to make less, we tend to store less, and then we usually eat less as well. So it can be particularly impactful for women.
Yeah, and we've got the catch-up shake here, and I was like, Yulia, we need to add creatine. I was like, it's so good. And I also feel like, when you go to the gym and you're working out, you work out regularly, you do the same thing, and you're like, I feel good, but I'm not looking how I want to look. I feel like creatine just really hits that.
It does it pretty quickly.
It does it really quickly, which I think is really, really good. Now, Matt, talking about Rome, so I was reading your story and I found it really interesting because I believe your like passion behind Rome was like going back to natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I resonated with this a lot because like the whole plant-based trend has kind of gone a bit crazy now, hence the sudden rush to kind of ancestral and like carnivore. But my reason for going plant-based was because I wanted to eat naturally. And that's a whole like concept behind plant-based, but then the whole trend took off and then the natural diet became the most unnatural diet on the planet, where you had like plant, vegan burgers and all that kind of stuff. So I guess you kind of saw this and was like, oh, I want to go back to basics. So talk about like, I guess from your side, like your why for Rome and kind of going back to basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so going right back to the beginning with me, I'm not going to talk to you. Here it goes. Yeah, I was an athlete. I started my kind of career as an athlete, as a football player. I was a very terrible football player, so don't Google me or anything like that. So because I played for terrible teams. But anyway, so I've always eaten a lot of animal protein. I've kind of lived on steaks, mince, turkey, chicken, all of those things. And so I've always felt like I've performed relatively well. And so I wanted to distill that into a convenient product that didn't have any preservatives, that people could literally whack in their back pocket, take to the office, get on a train, get on a flight. And when you couldn't get access to something, that was highly nutritious, now all of a sudden you could with Rome. And I think the biggest thing is with nutrition, I'm sure everyone here will agree, nutrition at its core is crazy simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. And the reason it's not easy is because there's so much conflicting messaging that's out there. There's so much conflicting advice. And actually, one of the big things that we talk about, I've got Mo here who helps with social media for us and does everything great for us. And one of the things we talk about a lot is just the power of prioritizing animal protein with your meals, making it the center of your plate. And then the power also of following a structured strength training program. Yep. If you can manage to do those two things consistently, which is, again, very simple, but it's not easy to do because we live hectic lives and there's distractions everywhere. If you can do them, you're boxing off the biggest box, and then all of the other bits come into play. Like you fill the gaps with the, good supplements, you get the dosages right, you figure out, where you're short or what's going to give you the boost. And the biggest thing with Rome is that I think we see a lot of meat snacks brands or carnivore brands out there. We see a lot of plant-based brands. We're just literally the real food brand. Like we just believe in meat, vegetables, fruit, dairy, seafood. That's it. That's all you need. And we're just the real food brand. And so, that's where we are. I
love that. I do think that like everyone in this room probably can agree that there's so much noise out there on like what's healthy, what's not. Like going back to the plant-based stage, Rhian and I were talking about like we've all had our, I don't know, talking to everyone here, but like the vegan moment where we've all gone plant-based or vegan at some point. Yeah. And there was so much messaging behind that being healthy and that being good for us. And I still believe in like plant-rich, and I'd say I'm definitely heavily plant-rich. But then these snacks came out and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have the snack on the go, and you turn around and you see like 50 ingredients and you're like, what is going on? Like I'm here having a plant-based natural diet, and yeah, I'm eating like 50 plus ingredients. So it is confusing. And when you say like it's easy, you're right, it should be super easy. But the noise out there, the marketing out there, it is really complicated and really overwhelming. So for one moment, we're all being told to cut back on meat because it's bad for us. And the next minute, all these different brands are coming out, and like there's now a massive push around eating meat again. For some people, they're like, oh yeah, I'm so confused. What should I be doing?
I think, was that a question to Rhian?
No.
So am I butting in?
That was a kind of question.
We might have a different view,
I'll
but you go first.
quickly jump in. My 5 cents.
I like all the debates.
Sorry, but this is a really passionate point of mine. Is that people often just associate meat with protein, and actually protein is just the tip of the iceberg, because if you look at what's in meat, there's
you got
creatine, abundant there, we've already spoken about, but it's literally, it is a powerhouse for every single critical vitamin, mineral, and essential fatty acid that we need to thrive. But because it's not like a kind of colorful, vibrant looking food, we often kind of glide over it and don't see it for what it really is, and we just see it as like protein. It's like, but it's not. They all meat is a superfood.
But is there such thing as too much meat? Yeah, Rhian, to you. Is there such
You
thing
answer
as
that
too
Yes,
much
of
meat?
course. Look, I think to your previous point, it's important to understand, like, you can have a bad vegan diet just as easily as you can have a bad meat-based diet, right? So if our diets are really high in ultra-processed food, not a lot of natural food, they can both be equally as bad for different kind of reasons. When it comes to, can you eat too much meat? Yes, you can. I think it's also important to understand the importance of fiber. So protein is incredibly important. It doesn't necessarily have to be from meat. I personally think it's, if you aren't adverse to eating meat, you should eat some. But I also think that you should also try to get as much from plants. You know, we know that fiber, or the lack of fiber, is one of the most important things to our long-term health. We know that people in the UK are only getting about 18 grams of fiber per day out of the recommended 30. So super important to get enough of your protein, super important to get enough of your fiber. So the only thing that I worry about with people who are on more of a carnivore type of a diet is that lack of diversity when it comes to fiber, when it comes to protein, beans and lentils. It is very challenging to get, 30 plus grams of of fiber on a carnivore only diet. We know that you need that for a healthy microbiome. And we do know that too much of the wrong types of meat, so more of the processed meats, which isn't what we're talking about in your bar, but when it comes to kind of the processed meats, sausages, the lunch meats, is associated with a higher risk of cancer. So we do need to be mindful, but I think the point here is the more natural we eat, the better. And if you're trying to make sure that you're getting enough of your protein, that's great. And it can be from both plant and animal.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I do think that, like, when it comes to on the go with, like,
Oh yeah, it's great.
it's great.
Yeah.
I think I've definitely been out and about and I'm like, well, I can't eat anything since I'm not going to eat.
Yeah.
And like, I've had that thought because I'm like, well, I don't know what to do.
Or you eat something and it's full of sugar and it just makes you hungry.
Yeah.
So like, I'm starving and I just ate something.
Completely.
Yeah.
Now, on sugar, this is an interesting one. Lisa, I want to talk to you about this because we're making like a non-alcoholic drink. Sugar obviously must have been something at the forefront of your mind when formulating, because I've tried a lot of non-alcoholic drinks and you're just there like, I don't want to drink, but I don't want to drink a load of sugar.
No.
Because I'm just going to feel rubbish. And also, when you wake up and you're like, I didn't even drink last night, but I'm hungover from having a sugar hangover. So what did you kind of touch on the sugar when it came to formulating JAGA?
Yeah, so I've always been into health and wellness, and like I'm so conscious of like the sugar that I consume, my children and family consume. So yeah, it had to be something that was naturally lower sugar. So yeah, we use stevia, and it's an organic stevia and organic erythritol, and neither of those raise your blood sugar. And just naturally like low in calories. So yeah, it was an absolute must for us.
And can you touch on your journey to reducing alcohol consumption? Because again, I'm seeing, I think in my generation, it's more accepting now.
Yeah.
To be like, go out and be like, I'm not going to drink.
Yeah, it's really good to see that.
Yeah, and friends are like, cool.
Yeah.
And like, I was at a wedding recently and the amount of dash waters I saw were crazy. And that was so nice to see.
Yeah.
So touch on your journey to reducing alcohol.
Yeah, so I quit alcohol 9 years ago. And back then it wasn't, as kind of common as it is now, although there was definitely a trend moving towards it, because I was noticing on Instagram there were lots of accounts that were starting to be like sobriety and inspiration, and more books coming out. I read a really good book at the time called The Naked Mind by Annie Grace, and I would really recommend that to anybody that's looking to reduce alcohol. At the time, it wasn't that I was like an alcoholic or anything. It's just I've always been into fitness, always been into wellness. I had 2 children, young children, and I could not deal with the low-grade anxiety and sleep issues that I was already having. So I was literally just like, I need to do this. But I tried so many times and like failed, and then just what happened, I went on holiday to Portugal. It was an all-inclusive, and it was just one of those weeks, and I was reading the book at the same time, and so I was like, I'm just going to have whatever I want this week. And then it was on my husband's birthday actually, and there was some Prosecco, and I was like, I don't want it. And that was the last time I drank 9 years ago, and honestly I've not looked back. Like I still do glamorize that crispy glass of cold wine on holiday.
Margarita.
Oh, I love a margarita.
Yeah.
Absolutely love. And I honestly really loved so many lovely cocktails and stuff. And I do miss those, like Aperol Spritz. When I was in Italy, I missed that. Although I will say, if you're in Italy, Crodino is very nice. And they do like the bitter spritz things that in the little bottles. They're a nice kind of alternative if you like that flavour. You can get them some places here. But yeah, so I do miss certain aspects, but I don't miss all the negatives. And I just feel that I'm doing the best thing for my health now. So it's better for my conscience.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I stopped as well. So I mean, I haven't kind of stopped, but I don't drink actively. And it was because after my second baby, I found it so painful to drink. The after effects, I was anxious for days because, as you know, as we all know, there's no extra sleep when you've got kids. There's no catch up. It's like every day they're up at 6. Every day, so I found that it became far more painful for me to drink than to not. And I think it's much easier now because, certainly, like you said, 9 years ago, if you didn't drink, people were like, "Why? What's wrong?" And you almost have to be like, and you have to make excuses. And now it's a lot more accepting, which is great because it's not a health food, or there are no benefits to our health. And I think that so many of us are now realizing the impact it has on our mental health and our energy. And so I think it's really great to have alternatives. Yeah.
Matt, what about you and your relationship with alcohol?
I do drink. It's the only way I get through the day.
We cancel each other out.
I do drink still. I do enjoy drinking. Luckily for me, I've always been one of those people that I kind of have a switch where I can have 2 and drinks, and I'll be like, feel quite good, and then I don't need to drink anything else. And so I've always been a bit of a moderation drinker. I've never kind of like been too much into the whole kind of like binge drinking thing. I really appreciate good quality alcohol. I'm quite into wine and things like that, and just learning about, because I love food as well, and so I love like reading about wine and collecting wine, and I do love a good Negroni, I must admit. So I really enjoy good quality drinks. I enjoy drinking with my other half at home. I enjoy drinking with friends, but the most important thing for me is that the reason why I very rarely overdrink to the point where I wake up in the morning and feel like I've had a drink is because it's just being really crystal clear about the things that are truly important to you, and the things that are truly important to me are having enough energy to be with my 3 children in the morning when they wake up, and just be a good dad to them on the weekends, because I'm not always there during the week. I love training, and so if I drink too much, it's going to get in the way of my training. So that's why I don't overdrink. And I love my work, and I love the sense of achievement. And again, if I drink too much, then that's going to be, that's going to mean that my motivation levels are not there where they need to be. And so it's just, if you know what's truly important to you, then it makes it easier to kind of be like, do you know what, it's kind of enough for me now. I've had a couple of drinks, I feel great, and now I'm just going to get on the water or have some electrolytes before I go to bed, and I'm going to wake up feeling $1 million.
No, completely. And I also think, and I often say this in the podcast, like the stress of trying to work out, shouldn't I, like, should I eat this, shouldn't I eat this? Should I drink tonight? Should I not? Like the stress that we put ourselves under to work out what to do, sometimes worse than just doing it. Like if it's stressing you out and you're like, I know my friend's gonna like give me a hard time or whatever. They shouldn't give you a hard time, but if they do, sometimes the stress of all that is like, you know what, I'm gonna have 1 or 2, and I'm gonna try and find my balance. And I think balance is the word, because it's sometimes the stress of it all can be worse. But Rhian, I'd love to touch on why or how alcohol affects men and women differently, because you two just spoke about how you don't drink, and then Matt was here saying, I found
Matt's
my balance.
a raging alcoholic.
I mean, I love to drink every single day. No, you do you. But it does affect us differently. So can you touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but if you're gone in the week, it means you're not doing the nights.
Oh no! I'm
week,
home.
right?
I do every bedtime.
Yeah.
But I don't do school pickups and stuff, so I get home later.
Yeah.
But I very rarely miss a bedtime, and I'm always there in the mornings as well.
Yeah. So I think, look, there's your personal circumstances, obviously, right? Like, I mean, my kids don't sleep through the night, right? So I'm up multiple times a night. But in terms of female physiology, I mean, we are more sensitive to alcohol than men are. It is more carcinogenic for us, and I think it's important to understand that breast cancer is one of the fastest kind of rising rates of cancer. And alcohol does have an impact. It has an impact on our fertility. It has an impact on everything. So I think it's really important to understand that, not in a fear-mongering way, right? But I don't think the education for women and alcohol is there yet.
Agreed.
When you look at the NHS guidelines, it's 14 units a week, which is the same as for women and men, and that's antiquated, right? We should not be drinking 14 units per week if we're thinking about health kind of outcomes. So I think it's really important to do a bit of a deep dive on the education for yourself, see what stage you are, consider your family history. Does your mother have breast cancer? Is it something that runs in your family? And also then just look at your drinking habits and then also your dietary pattern, right? Because everything is cumulative. So I think you really need to understand that for women, we are more sensitive. We aren't the same as men, so it does impact us in kind of a more substantial way, unfortunately.
At a top level as well, I think a lot of people actually forget how much energy is in alcohol.
From a calorie point of view.
From a calorie, it's the same as fat. It's 9 calories in a gram of alcohol. And when you look at what's the kind of one of the main drivers of just about every single disease process is body composition. And a lot of people struggle with body composition. So, body fat to lean mass. And so again, it's not going back to muscles, but actually muscle is medicine, because the more favorable body mass you have, lean mass you have, the less likely you are to suffer from just about every single disease process. And alcohol is one thing that people so often forget is a big contributor to how much energy they're taking in over a day, week, weekly basis. So.
And then you also compound that with the impact, as you said, when you drink, you don't feel like exercising as much.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It does
Decreased
impact
motivation.
Yeah. And then for women specifically, as we age, as we approach menopause, we lose muscle mass faster because our hormones will change. So not only are you losing your muscle mass faster, you're losing estrogen, which makes us more sensitive to insulin. So our blood sugar becomes a bit harder to maintain. So then what you'll often hear from women of that age group is, I do all the things that are exactly the same, but I don't respond in the same way because there's a lot going on, right? So I think it's really important just to...
That's a great point.
Yeah,
great point.
That's kind of why I stopped, was all of those things. As I was getting older, I just had all of those concerns. And I just thought, if there's one thing I can do for myself to kind of eradicate that, I do get some health anxiety, then this is the gift that I can give myself and my family.
No, for sure.
And it hits you harder, right?
Yeah.
It does. So I'm 43 now. I mean, 20 years ago, I could drink a lot. I could drink a lot. I could wake up. I could have, a Diet Coke, because back in the day, that's what we did, and I'd be completely fine. If I drink more than 1.5 now, I've got a headache, I'm anxious, I can't deal with my kids, I'm impatient with them, I'm snappy with them, and then I feel guilty, I feel shame, I feel, so it just all depends on what you're going through, right? And what, like you said, what your values are, what your priorities are.
For sure.
And then there's the health on top of that, of course.
It is interesting, we could do a whole panel on alcohol. I think there's so much to be said for it. So I now want to touch on collagen. So Lisa, you have your collagen shots. So why was that an important product for you, and what's in them that gives it the added collagen?
So I love collagen, and obviously it's become a really buzzy ingredient right now, and the science is there to back it. So the collagen shot, it's hydrolyzed bovine collagen, which is a really highly absorbable form of collagen. It's got vitamin C and zinc in it to help with the production of collagen. And then we've got another product coming out next year, which is a nose to tail grass-fed protein shot. So watch this space.
Partnership, there we go.
Yeah. Interesting.
A travel pack.
We need to tap the airlines up.
Yes,
100%.
And Matt, so obviously your bars are naturally high in collagen because of their coming from beef and other animal sources. But you also add whey protein as an extra ingredient. Why was that something that you decided to add into it? Because obviously being a beef or animal protein bar, it's already naturally high in protein. So why did you add in the whey?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. That's a really good question, actually. Firstly, I love protein, as you probably guessed. So I love collagen. I use collagen in my shakes in the morning. And I love whey protein. Whey protein is kind of one of those ingredients that's been forgotten about a little bit because collagens come along. But it's such a key ingredient for so many different things. It, obviously helps with muscle mass and helping us to support muscle mass in a convenient way. But then if you look at the way that it impacts things like the immune system and signaling within the gut and also repair of the gut lining, if you just kind of go into Google, go into PubMed, type in, benefits of whey protein. If you're interested and you're geeky and that stuff, you can find a whole lot of really credible research. It's probably, behind creatine, it's probably the most studied nutritional supplement that we have available to us. And it's forgotten about. Yes, some people are sensitive to it. But I find that if you're just using unflavored whey protein with none of the fillers, the binders, the artificial sweeteners and things like that, then actually most people can tolerate whey protein. But going back to the question in point, the reason why we use it is because we wanted to have a natural product that rivaled the protein content of the more synthetic sports nutrition bars. And so we wanted to try and get, in our 45 gram bar, we wanted to try and get as close to 20 grams of protein per unit as possible. And that's why we use whey. The second reason why we use whey is because we don't use any artificial preservatives in our products. So we don't use things like sodium nitrate, which is what you get on ham, jerky, bacon, luncheon meats and stuff, which is correlated to a load of nasty chronic diseases, colorectal cancer and cancers of the digestive system. We don't use that, but we do use whey because one of the ways that we track our products for safety is a marker called active water. And so we know that the amount of water we have in our products needs to be in very tight parameters. And if it's within that, that's one indicator to say that we can have a 12-month shelf life without having any artificial preservatives in there. Whey helps to just remove water. So it's kind of like a slightly drying ingredient. Getting those active water parameters for 10 bars is crazy easy. When you're making 10,000 bars at a time is very, very difficult. And that's where the skill comes into making them. But that's why we use whey.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Rhian, why is it important that people do consume collagen? Because obviously we see like collagen serums and collagen skincare and we should put it on our face, but like consuming it is also obviously important. So why is collagen an important thing to consume if someone's not consuming it already?
So I mean, I don't personally take it, but I eat foods that are high in protein. I think that in terms of collagen supplementation, they've been shown to help for a variety of things. I think it becomes more important to take collagen supplementation if you want to, as you age, if you eat less kind of the proteins already. And I think, like we just said, it's good for more than just our skin, right? So it's involved in our ligaments, our tendons, our vessels, our gut. So I think it's important to get kind of an overall good protein status. And then if you choose to supplement with collagen on top of that, that's your choice.
And we're here obviously at KARVE, which is a Pilates studio. And I now want to link this all back to movement. And we've all touched on movement in some way already. But where does movement come into your life and what do you do to kind of exercise? Lisa, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I am a big fan of strength training. So I go to the gym where we live, 200 strong, and I do strength training maybe 3 or 4 days a week. And I'm just starting to do more, I'm actually in a competition, a little competition. Yeah, similar, yeah. So I'm training this kind of a style, which is very much out of my comfort zone, but I'm trying to do things that are, that I'm out of my comfort zone because that's important. So so I'm trying to incorporate a bit of that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And Rhian?
If I could, I would only do cardio. I love cardio so much. Now, you should not only do cardio, but I love cardio so much. I used to be a swimmer, so it's kind of second nature to me. Right now, I probably do 3 strengths and 3 cardios. Strength training, as we've all discussed, becomes more important as we age, and I'm definitely feeling that you need to do more to maintain the muscle. I did used to come to KARVE before I had kids because I had the luxury of going anywhere in London. So this type of class is fantastic. But I also do kind of heavy work in the gym as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just old school strength and conditioning, similar to these guys. Yeah, I really kind of do love my training. It's one of my big passions in life, and I'm quite kind of geeky and nerdy with the way that I track, the numbers and progressive overload, which is something that everyone I think could benefit from. Just being conscious of is making sure that we're just constantly kind of going up that and making those very small progressive upgrades in our training, and whether that's literally lifting the same weight for just 1 more rep, or it's lifting 1 kilo more for the same amount of reps, or it's just performing an exercise just with slightly better form. It's progressive overload has many different kind of angles to it. But yeah, I love traditional strength training and conditioning. I used to be much better on the conditioning front when I was an athlete, but I was weak back then, and now I don't play football anymore. Now
you did too much cardio back then.
Yeah, exactly. Now I've gone the other way. Get me on the track, and a few laps in, I'm struggling. Whereas before it used to be like easy for me. But yeah, that's what I love. Just the traditional strength and conditioning training. Yeah.
I love it. I think what I love about what you just said is that we can always do 1% better. And I think this is why I love doing the podcast and love listening to different things. It's we can all get comfortable eating the same thing, going to the supermarket, picking up the same thing, going into the gym, doing the same workout, going to the same classes. And I think it's really good just push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Really trying to
grab
do
something
that.
new from the supermarket, try a new class. I remember when I think I've said this so many times to Yulia, but I remember when I first did KARVE, I went back home and did a COVID test because I was I'm not well. I was I'm not well. I have worked out not every single day, I have 1 day off a week, but if I could do it every single day, I would. I love it. It's my meditation. I love it so much. And I remember thinking, there's no way this class was that hard. I must be really, really ill. And I didn't have COVID. It was just a hard class.
Yeah.
But I think, I think it's so good to, push yourself out of your comfort zone. Try a new product or new food that you haven't tried before. And sometimes it's maybe I should try eating beef protein if I haven't in a while. Or maybe I should try collagen if I haven't before. I think it's really good to do things that are a bit different to see if they work for you. If they don't, stop doing it. And if they do, continue. So
I think it's really easy to get caught up in trying to do the perfect thing, right? Do the perfect amount of exercise. There's so many panels I go on where people are when should I exercise in my cycle? And most of us aren't exercising enough, right? So just to get too caught up in cycle syncing and when should I do my cardio? When should I do my strength? We should all just try to move it a bit more, a variety of things, do what feels good. Again, same thing with our diets. I didn't eat meat for 12 years. When I got pregnant, I was give me a steak immediately. I just wanted a rare steak, and since then I've just eaten steak. You just listen to your body, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's something to be said about trying to do it in the most natural and healthful way, but finding that is going to take time, and that's totally okay as well, right?
And remember that the most benefits you get for your health come from the movement outside of training.
Yeah.
So it's things like, standing at your desk,
walking
more, just going out for a 20-minute walk on a break, taking calls on the move if you've got that luxury to do that. It's that kind of non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT is what they call it. It's just moving more outside of your training sessions, because your training sessions actually only, they contribute to a small amount of your health gains, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, so interesting. Do any of you guys have any questions from these amazing founders? Yes.
I just have comments for both of them.
Yeah.
I just want to say to you, I'm glad I like you personally, because it's horrible to meet founders of brands and then they disappoint you. But I came for your brand. I came for the packaging, but I stayed for the product.
Oh, wonderful.
The products are great.
Both of us.
And you actually have very good recipes.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I'm gonna come eat at your house. house.
Yes, please. Okay. Please. Will you cook them for me?
I'm
tired.
There's a lot of chopping.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
And Matt, I wanted to say, in my family, we have some personal trainers floating around, and last Christmas they all got gifts of the box of your.
Oh, there we go.
And a bottle of booze too, whatever.
Yeah,
they drank.
bit
So
contrast.
I think you'd probably approve of that. Very
I would.
Get some electrolytes in afterwards, and you'll be
For
okay.
me, because I like sugar way too much, your jalapeno bar is a perfect 4 o'clock sugar killer.
Yeah.
Because it does.
The sugar destroyer.
That's a good
Fills
idea.
you up, does that, but it actually kills you. You don't want any chocolate after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too done.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you
Good
for those
tip.
comments. And it's funny because we often do some posts, and one of the posts that we do is I started a business that was the stupidest idea in the world because we created products that actually fill people up. And so, it's all linked around.
It
Like,
isn't even just that you fill it up.
Yeah.
There's something about that. It's so spicy.
Yeah.
And just does really, you just don't want to follow it with
Anything.
Maybe
Yeah.
a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, just having all four of you here, and obviously hearing all the variety and kind of approaches and thoughts and feelings on nutrition. The argument at the moment between like fibre and protein and things like that, it'd be really interesting to hear, if you don't mind, what a typical day on your plate would look like.
Yeah.
Getting in, obviously, all of the different approaches that you take.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, of course. I think it's challenging because when one ingredient becomes popular, it often comes out that all the other ones are like pushed aside. So it's not fiber or protein, it's fiber and protein. So I think that's really important. I think it's also important to understand what your personal requirement for protein is. So the ARTAH used to be 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. That's way too low. So it should be more along the lines of 1.2 grams. So you shouldn't be trying to eat the same thing as he should because he's obviously got, a lot more weight on him.
Muscle, not weight.
Muscle, obviously, I do like him, obviously. Like me personally, I'm trying to go for about 1.4 grams per kilogram per day. In the morning, that's actually where I have a bit of a hard time because I don't eat eggs. I get headaches from eggs, so I find mornings very challenging. So usually my mornings are leftovers from the night. So it's like salmon and beans and veg, and then I'll do like a shake or something. Lunch is pretty similar. I eat a lot of lentils and vegetables, and at night I'll have again some sort of an animal source. So I have beef probably 2 times a week, and then it's fish and chicken and turkey, and then tons of veg. I don't really eat a lot of the grains, but I get my fiber from tons of veg, fruit, and then your lentils and beans. Yeah. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because the argument between red meat as well is everyone's like, don't eat lots of red meat and, prioritise chicken and things like that. And, personally for me, I'm more like vegetarian, so like plant rich and then have chicken on the side. But it's interesting to hear that you eat beef as well because so many people at the moment, certain nutritionists, are definitely pushing that stay away from red meat. Like, red meat is bad.
I think it's changing a lot now, the narrative around that, I'm finding.
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that if you overconsume red meat specifically, and specifically processed meat, that is linked to bad health outcomes, right? But it really depends on your diet, right? So if you're not eating enough fiber, that's going to be worse. If you're eating a lot of ultra-processed food, that's going to be worse. But good quality beef is not bad for us inherently. I think it's more when you combine that with more ultra-processed, with a lot of alcohol and a lack of fiber, I think it's really important to take things in full context, right? So fiber, again, is one of the most important things we can do for our gut and for our risk of colorectal cancer. So the fact that we're really only eating 18 grams a day, that's a problem, right? So if you want to eat more meat, I would try to protect yourself, A, by making sure the meat is good quality and not really high in saturated fat, so the leaner cuts, and B, making sure you're getting enough fiber in.
Yeah. Shall I add my 5 cents to that? So I eat beef probably twice a day, every day.
I think I probably have it every day.
And my take on beef is, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this or not,
It's okay.
but is that a lot of the high-level research that we've heard around beef, being linked to poor health outcomes is observational studies, large-scale observational studies, and it's not taking into account those study groups what other activities those people were doing alongside eating beef that could have also been the cause of the negative health outcome they got. So to just put that into layman's terms, it's like the person that was being studied that was being observed, they were eating beef, but were they also smoking? Were they also drinking too much? Were they exercising?
Are they eating fiber?
Were they eating fiber? Or were these people eating beef like me twice a day, as well as broccoli, fruit, going to the gym every day, not drinking alcohol, not smoking? I don't think that those types of people were the people that were being observed, and that is what's skewing the message that we are being told. And I do think that, as we all know in here, the message is changing, and soon, hopefully, we're going to see beef and all meat become this, touted as the superfood that it is.
Going that way.
And as I said at the beginning of this, I'm all about just the real food movement. And it's like, for me, I eat beef twice a day, but I also, in the morning, have a shake with like some macadamia nuts, some avocado, some olive oil, some protein powder, some kefir, berries. With my lunch, I always have beef with some vegetables, and like sweet potato. And then with my dinner, I always have beef with, again, like salad, vegetables, and really like, that's like a sensible approach to the way, to eat. It's sensible, it's balanced. It's balanced, it's sensible. And I think like, we need to go for that approach where it doesn't need to be quite so aggressive, carnivore, vegan, plant-based. It's just like, let's just eat real food.
Yeah. People go finite, aren't they? Like, this is it.
Yeah, it's either protein or fiber.
Well, but
it's not necessarily the all or nothing mindset.
And it's important to know that I personally feel much better eating fiber and lots of fruit, vegetables. But actually some people, fiber, and you've probably seen this in practice, fiber is going to just upset them if they've got like a weak digestive system, or they've got an imbalance in their digestive system. They're going to have to probably go on quite a restrictive diet to start with, to heal that, and then start bringing fiber back into it. So it's like, again, it comes down to that personalized piece.
I mean, completely on the contrary, I don't eat beef at all. Not from I was vegan. I had a business before what I'm doing now called Greedy Vegan. And I was like, I always talk about this, and like I was that brand and the person, like there wasn't really a separation. It was like I was one. And like I really promoted the vegan diet, and then I realized that actually I want to kind of eat real foods, and a lot of these the plant-based world went crazy, and it was full of all these additives, and I wasn't feeling great. Even my yogurt had like 7 ingredients in it, and I was like, I just want yogurt. So I was like, okay, I closed the business, I detached myself from the vegan brand, and I am now reintroducing more animal products. I started with eggs, then I've gone to Greek yogurt, bone broth I was craving. So who knows, beef could be next. I do eat fish if I'm away and I know where it's from. I'm that nightmare customer. He's like, where's the fish from? And like, I'll only have it where I know they can literally point to where it came from, because I'm just funny on source. But for me, like natural is key, and I want like minimal ingredients. So maybe beef is next. All my friends are like, beef is next. And I'm like, who knows? For me, it's a taste thing. When I did eat meat, I used to find beef quite heavy.
Wait till you get pregnant.
Yeah, I bet you. Yeah,
beef.
But literally, for me, I'm very, very plant rich. But I always think about protein. Eggs has been great to add in. I eat a lot of tofu, a lot of chickpeas. Although I think I said on our podcast, chickpeas don't love me that much, which is sad. But I eat a lot of tofu, tempeh, and a lot of fiber. But yeah, I'm slowly beginning to add in natural, because I think natural is best.
On meat quality as well, just remember, like, you'll see a lot of people saying like, you've got to eat organic, you've got to eat like pasture raised, top quality, locally sourced. And if you can afford that, definitely do it, because it's great to really kind of go for the best quality ingredients you can afford, and also support, your local butcher and farmers and things like that. But also here in the UK, we're so lucky in the fact that if it's from the UK, it is top quality. Yeah. Like we're not in the US, but we consume a lot of US education on social media. And in the US, you have different things like GMOs, you have, antibiotics and things like that. That's not as prevalent here in the UK and even the EU. Whereas like in Australia, and in the US, it's a very different story. So just like when you're buying meat, buy what you can afford and know that you're buying top quality.
Mm. Any other questions before we wrap up? Yeah.
Each of them, where can we find your products apart from e-commerce?
Good question.
So we're stocked here in the lovely KARVE, which is great. We've just launched in Harrods, Selfridges online. We've got our website. Yeah, we're in lots of kind of nice gyms and farm shops, delis, and we're also now launching in America. So yeah.
Yeah, we're in Selfridges, Whole Foods, and then primarily online. So we have the D2C side of things, and then we're on health, the natural dispensary, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for Rome, primarily D2C, romefood.com, Amazon UK, and Amazon Germany as well, if you're from Germany. Health, Well Easy.
Well Easy.
Soho House Group.
Oh yeah, we're in Soho House.
And
as well.
Soho House Group.
Yeah.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's about it, I think. for us.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
I know, you have to order them.
They need to, yeah, definitely.
Well, actually, you can get ARTAH at the airport in Boots. I forgot that we're also in Boots, but we don't have the protein bars. So.
And
That's more electrolytes if you need that for your
not
flight.
this is to do with nutrition, but Healthy Habits can be found on Health and healthyhabits.co.uk. And I will desperate to get into Soho House, but we're not there yet. But we're asking you guys for help. No. But round of applause for the panelists, guys. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you for
on.
having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Pleasure.